So everybody should have this formula sheet. It's a little half sheet I gave you yesterday. And on Monday, this is what you're going to have to do for me. You're going to have to recite all these formulas like a definition test. So let's run through them. Let's run through them. So at the beginning, you're going to get this 7 formulas that you have to recite. Let's run through them, make sure we understand them. Then after you turn this in, this should take a minute to write out. Then for your test, I will give you these formulas so that you have on your test, you can refer to them, okay? So first of all, let's recite these. What's the explicit arithmetic? It's a sub n. Always start off with a sub n. Explicit, it's the first term plus n minus 1 times d. What's the recursive arithmetic? It's a sub 1 is equal to blank. You're going to have to write that. You have to state an initial condition. A sub n, it's the previous term plus the d value. What is the partial sum of an arithmetic sequence? It's k over 2 times the first term plus the kth term. What is the geometric, explicit geometric? It's a sub n is equal to, it's the first term times the r value to the n minus 1 power. The recursive one, you state an initial condition, a sub 1 is blank, and then a sub n is the previous term times the r value. Some people put r first, that's fine. The partial sum of a geometric sequence, a1 times 1 minus r to the k power over 1 minus r, and the infinite, you're adding to infinity, is a1 over 1 minus r. So that's 7 easy points on your test. And then I will give you these formulas. I'm just not going to tell you which one's which. This one is, all 3 of these are arithmetic and all 4 of these are geometric. This first one is explicit. This is recursive. And this is the partial sum. This one is explicit. This is recursive. This is partial sum, part sum, I'm just abbreviating, and infinite sum. Okay? Which you should know these. Questions?
Will you tell us which ones are geometric and the
Nope,
others?
you're getting that paper right there. You're getting that paper without my handwriting on it. You need to know, and if you don't know by
Yeah, but
now.
it'll say geometric over it, right? Arithmetic, though.
Yeah, exactly what you see, but I'm not gonna tell you which is explicit, which is recursive. You have to know which is which. You're gonna get this paper that I just gave you without my handwriting on it. So, here, that's what you're gonna get right there. So you need to know which is which. I'm not gonna, play any games, this is what you're getting. All right, let's run through this test. Question number 1, you're given a function. This is a function. They asked you, is this a function? Yes, it is. It passes the vertical line test, right? I gave a point for that. How do you state the domain in interval notation? The domain is the x value. The x values go from right here, which is negative 2.5, and it's not including it because of the open circle. So you would use a negative 2.5 would have a parentheses, and then it goes to 2 with a bracket. In the range, the smallest number is negative 3, and it's including it, so we use a bracket, and it goes all the way up to 3 with a parenthesis. How do you find f of -1? This inside here is your x value. So find -1 on the x-axis and reach the graph at -3. So I gave 2 points for these two, because I wanted to make sure you understood the brackets, and 1 for that.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Is there supposed to be, a closed dot for the -3 on the y-axis, or is it just, you just know because it's
It's because it's going down to it. If there was an open circle right here, then it wouldn't include it.
there? Okay.
Because the graph, this graph is, all these points are included on it. So it went down to -3. So yeah, it's included. So think of these are a bunch of infinitely closed dots, if that makes sense. Did you understand that?
Yeah.
Okay. Number 2, is this a function? Look at all your x's. Are any of them repeated? No, so yes, it is a function. Number 3, evaluate the cube root of -8. What is the cube root of -8? Is -2. And -2 is an integer, it's a rational, and they're all real. So A, B, and D are the correct answers. So 3 points for this. Number 4, how do you find the equation of a line passing through 2 points? Well, you need the slope and you need the y-intercept. So what we can do is first figure out the slope. The slope is the difference of the y, so -2 minus -1, so +1, over -1 minus 2. So I get -1 third, -1 over -3, which is 1/3, correct?
Yep.
1/3 is your slope. The negatives cancel. Now what I did was I went to point slope form. Now there's different ways to do this. Here's point slope form. Pick one of these 2 points and the slope and plug it in here. So I'm going to use, let's use this point right here. So you're going to write y plus 1 equals 1/3 times x minus 2. And now I like to get rid of the fraction first. So I don't want to distribute and write -2/3 and then get a common denominator. So what I did was I multiplied this by 3 to get rid of that. I multiplied this by 3 and this by 3. So you get 3y plus 3 equals, now distribute the 1x minus 2. And now, because they want it, read it, it says slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form is where y is by itself. So you have to subtract 3. So 3y equals 1x minus 5, and then divide everything by 3. So your answer should be y equals 1/3 x minus 5/3. And I gave, for that one, I gave 3 points. Now this is an easy one. How do you find the equation in point slope form if you're given the point and a slope? Very easy. Y minus 3 equals -1/3 times x minus a -2 would be +2. Done. Don't change this. Read the directions. It says point slope form, leave it. If you write this in slope intercept form, you're not answering my question. The question that I asked you is to write this in point slope form. Done. Next one. Find an equation for a line that passes through this point. So right away, I go to this. Y minus 2 equals some m value times x plus 5. Right away. Easy. That's how fast you should be doing this. Passes through this point. So I'm including those 2 points, the x and the y, into this equation. And I want it perpendicular to this, the line that goes through this. So I need to find the slope of this, 1, 2, 4, 3. That's easy. M equals, I can do this in my head, 3 minus 2, which is 1, over 4 minus 1, which is 3. So 1/3 is the slope of this line. But what does perpendicular mean? Opposite reciprocal, so I need a -3 here. Are you guys with me? Now, read it again. How do they want the answer? In slope-intercept form, so what do you have to do now? Distribute. So y minus 2 equals -3x minus 15. And now add 2, and you get y equals -3x minus 13. And I gave 3 points for that one. So far, okay. Number 7, I think everyone got this one. You guys are professional, parallel, perpendicular people. What are these? How do you know? You have to get both of them in slope-intercept form to see what the slope is. If you bring the 3x over, it becomes a -3x. And I really don't care about the b value. I'm just concentrating on the slope. And you'll find out when you get y by itself here. So 2y equals -6x minus 17. Divide this by 2, and 2, and you get -3 also. So you don't even have to finish this. The slopes are the same, so they are parallel. You guys need to knock some time off your, you don't have to sit there and do the whole thing. I don't care about the y-intercept, or once you see that they're the same, write parallel. Now, if you would have gotten a +3 here, you would say neither. They're not parallel, they're not perpendicular, they're neither. If this one became, let's say, 1/3, +1/3, then you'd say perpendicular, right? Okay, what does standard form look like? This is standard form. Standard form is the location of your x and your y and your constant have to be in a certain spot, and the capital letters mean no fractions or decimals. So I like to get rid of the decimals, the fractions and the decimals first. What is the problem is that this has a fraction. The 3 is a problem. So if I multiply this whole thing by, what? 3. If I multiply this whole thing by 3, I will get 3 times y is 3y. 3 times a third x is 1x. And 3 times -4 is -12. I have no more fractions. Now I'm going to position all my terms where they belong. The only term that's in the wrong spot is the x. It needs to go in the front of the y value. So when I bring this over, it becomes a -1x, right? Now, some mathematicians don't like the negative in front. It's like starting a sentence off with a negative. So we have a way of getting rid of that negative. How do you get rid of that negative? You multiply the whole thing by -1. So what's your best answer? That's the best answer.
Wait, is it negative?
Yeah, but I multiplied everything by -1. It was a -12, but when you multiply everything by -1, you change the sign of everything. Questions? Now these are all, so far it's all been reviewed. 9, it says in the year 1950, so I get myself ready. I'm comparing the death rate to people, number of people. So it says in the year 1950, the death rate was about 511,000 people. And I made this question up. Just, it's not real, it's fake. So I just wanted to state that. And then in the year 1996, sounded good though. I'm sure it's more than this, believe it or not. So these are our 2 facts. But they don't want you, if you read the problem, they don't want you to use 1950 for x. They want you to use a 0 for x for 1950. So then this would be a 46. Now you could use those to find the slope. You could. it works out the same. So how do you find, you wanna write an equation, this is a linear relationship. So the slope is gonna be, it's the difference of the y's, so 511,000 minus 359,000 over, now if we subtracted this minus this, we have to do 0 minus 46. You get an ugly decimal, it's negative 3,304, and then it says round to the nearest tenth, so 0.3. So that, whoops, that should be, that's the number you're gonna put in front of x. So when you write your equation, y equals, you're gonna write negative 3,304, and then 0.3 x. But we need a b value. What is the y-intercept? It's right here. When x is 0, that's your b value. That's your beginning amount, so 511,000. And then it says estimate the death rate in the year 2000. So what number are we gonna plug in for x into this formula? A 40. So 40 times this plus that, you should end up with 345,782, and you have a decimal, 0.61. I would, because they're talking about people, I would round up no matter what, even if it was 0.3. I would round up to 345,787 people. Yes. 50? Oh, 50, yes, I'm sorry, yes, thank you. And this, x is 50. Yes. Yes, x is 50. Is that right? I said it wrong, but did it right. So 50, x is 50, thank you. 50 years passed from 1950 to 2000. And I wanted to make the years simple, I didn't want to make that difficult for you. Number 10. Find what t would have to be. They give you t minus 7 is an x value and 8 is a y value. And then negative 2 is an x value and negative 3t plus 1 is a y value. And I want the slope to be negative 3. So you need to know what slope formula means. It is the difference of the y, so 8 minus negative 3t plus 1 over t minus 7 minus a negative 2. I want the slope to be negative 3. Okay? So now clean this up. You have to distribute the negative. That's why you have to be a very strong math student. You have to be able to do these kinds of things very easily at this point. So you have 8 plus 3t minus 1 over, this is going to be t minus 7 plus 2. You're going to add 8 and negative 1, and negative 7 and 2, and then cross multiply, 3t plus 1, 3t plus 7 times 1 is 3t plus 7, and negative 3t plus 15 is what you get. Add 3t here, you get 6t equals, subtract 7, you get 8, divide by 6, and you get 8/6, which is 4 over 3. That's your answer. Lexi, are you not seeing it? No? Which part? The formula part? Right here?
Yeah.
Okay, so I did this times this, which is 3t plus 7, and then negative 3 times both of these is negative 3t plus 15. You with me there?
I didn't reduce it.
Oh, okay. I added 3t, you get 6t, subtract 7, you get 8. So then reduce 8 over 6, both go in, 2 goes into both of those. Get it? Are you good? Okay, next one, number 11. it says a toy company has fixed costs, we did this one with hats in your homework. Toy company has fixed costs of 25,000, and variable are $12 per toy. So that's easy, we can write an equation, we've done a gazillion of these in Algebra 1. Did everybody get that? That's your equation. Now remember, whenever you're doing an equation, you need to have an x and a y, or two variables. I don't care which two you use, but if you just write 12x, if anyone writes 12x plus 25,000, if you don't have the y equals, you're not comparing two quantities. It's incomplete. So that's A. I gave, I believe, 2 points for this one. Yeah, 2. Then for B, it says, why is your total cost? What is the total cost of producing 15,000 toys? Well, we plug 15,000 in for X, and order of operations matters. You have to multiply first before you add, and you should get 205,000 when you do this math. Then it says, find the average cost. So if we make 15,000 toys, what's one toy gonna cost? So you take this total cost, 205,000, and you divide, whoops, that's a comma, 205,000, divide this by 15,000, and you get, it's gonna cost $13.67 to produce one toy. And I gave a point for the 205,000 and a point for the 13.67. Questions? Awesome. Now, your test might say 18 next, but flip, they were stapled wrong. Go to 12. Let's do 12 first. Okay, now I need two formulas. A must be recursive. So you're being asked a question. On line A, state a recursive formula for this situation, 3, 7, 11, 15. Well, the recursive means it's the first term, we state the first term, which is 3. And any term that we want to know, we have to know the previous term, and we're going to add the d value. So what is the d value? How are we going from 3 to 7? Adding 4. So does everybody agree D is 4? So you're going to put a plus 4 right here. So to find the 5th term, you need the 4th term and then add 4 to it. To find the 10th term, you need the 9th term, add 4 to that. What is the explicit formula? It's A sub n, it's the first term, which is 3, plus n minus 1 times the d value. Now, I would prefer that you don't leave it like this. I prefer that you simplify it. How could we simplify this? Anyone? Distribute the 4, so you get 4n minus 4, and then add 3 to that. So if you simplify it correctly, you should get 4n minus 1. This is what I prefer. Next one, number 13. They give you an arithmetic sequence, and they give you 2 terms, the 4th and the 10th. They're not in order. So how do you find the d value? Well, you're going to treat this like 4 comma 16, and this as 10 comma 46. What am I doing? What am I getting ready for? To find the d value. The slope is the d value. So how do you do that? You subtract the y's, which what's 46 minus 16? Is 30. What's 10 over 4, or 10 minus 4, sorry, is 6, and this is 5. So what's it doing? How are we going from each term? We're adding 5. So the formula for an explicit formula, it looks like this. This is what your explicit formula looks like, right? What's missing is the first term. We don't know what it is. Well, this is kind of easy. We could go back. If we know that the common difference is 5, So we don't know what the first term is. We don't know what the second term is. We don't know what the third term is, but we know the fourth term is. How do we go back to get this first term?
Subtract 5.
Subtract 5. So 16 minus 5 is 11. How do you get this term? Subtract 5, you get 6, and subtract 5, you get 1. Now, does this make sense to go to from here to here, you get added 5? Yep. So the first term is 1. And the D value is 5. So that would probably be the easiest way to find the first term, is to go backwards like that. Now, are we going to leave our answer like this? No, we're going to simplify it. 5n minus 5 plus 1 is 5n minus 4. So that's the answer for the explicit formula right there. And now how would you find the 100th term? You would do 5 times 100 minus 4. So 500 minus 4 is 496.
How come you did it minus 4?
I simplified. 5 times n is 5n, minus 5 plus 1 is minus 4.
Oh, so you just plugged in the simplified formula for the
Mhm.
100.
Yeah, you should be able to simplify this. 5n minus 5 plus 1 is negative 4. Okay, number 14. You are given the 30th term and the D value. We want an explicit formula for this one. What's missing? A1. So we're going to write AN is A1 plus n minus 1 times D. Well, I know negative 3 goes here. That's all I know so far. I don't know the first term, but I have some information here. I can plug this information in here for AN and N and find A1. So if I use the 30th term here, so N is 30, this means the N value. This is N is 30. So the 30th term, so I'm gonna write 298 is A1 plus 30 minus 1.
How'd
I've
you
got-
know- How'd you know for Eric if it was arithmetic or geometric?
It's, we are assuming that this is arithmetic. Because, well, we know it because of the D value. We're saying D. If I said R, it would be a ratio. D means arithmetic, R means ratio. So that's your cue to that, okay? All right, next. So now we're going to plug in, or do the math here for this to find A1. So do 30 minus 1, 29, times negative 3, and then add the opposite here to get A1. Did anyone get A1 yet?
Is it alright if I go to the bathroom?
Huh?
Can I go to the bathroom?
Sure. A1 is 385. So your equation should read, your explicit formula, AN is 385 plus n minus 1 times negative 3. Now, I would like for you to distribute that, if you don't mind. Distribute negative 3n plus 3, and then simplify negative 3n plus 388. This is your best answer. Now, how do you find the 50th term now? You just plug 50 in right here. So what is 50 times negative 3 and then plus 388? You should get 238. So this is AN equals negative 3N plus 388. Questions on those? Number 15, they're asking you to sum up the sequence. Now, it is arithmetic. How do I know? Because it's in slope-intercept form. And the other way I could prove is plug in a bunch of numbers and see if I have a common difference. Well, what's the formula for adding these up? It's k over 2 times the first term that you're going to add up plus the last term. How do you know how many terms you're going to add up? I don't want the first or the second or the third term, but I want the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, the seventh, the eighth. So how do we figure out how many terms? You take these two, subtract them, and then add 1. So there's 17 terms we're adding up. So 17 over 2. The first term that we will add, you take this bottom number and you plug it in here. What's 2 times 4? 8. 8 plus 1 is 9. And what's the last term we're going to add? We take a 20 and plug it in here. You get 41. Add these up and you get 25. This is what I did. 17 over 2. This is 50. I did 2 goes into 50 25 times, and then I just multiplied those two. I got 425 for an answer. Questions? Go back. How to get 41? I plug 20 in here. This is the rule. Okay, next. You should all be able to tell whether something's arithmetic, geometric. Does it have a common difference or a common ratio? This one had a common ratio. It was geometric. And how do I get it? Well, I see if I can subtract the 2, or I do negative 2 divided by 3. You get negative 0.6, repeating. And then I did 4/3 divided by negative 2. I got negative 0.6. And I did another one, I got 0.6. The other thing you could do is do the first 2, and then see if that number, if you multiply, gives you the next term. There's a couple different ways you can do it, but geometric is the answer to this one. Number 17. You're constructing a monument by laying rows of bricks. So think about it. In the first row, there's 60 bricks. So think of, there's 60 bricks. There's 60 of them. And then in the next row, there's 2 fewer. So the next row, there's 58 bricks. These are all little bricks. And then in the next row, there's 56. My picture's not very good, but so you've got a sequence going on. What you have is 60, comma, 58, 56, and so forth. There are how many rows to this monument? There's 26. If I want to add up all the bricks, do I have to sit there and figure out each row? No, I use this formula. K over 2 times the first term plus the 26th term. We're adding 26 rows. And I know the first term is 60. I just don't know how many bricks. I can keep subtracting 2, but that'll take me forever. I can whip out my arithmetic explicit formula, which is AN equals A1 plus N minus 1 times D. If I whip out this formula and I want to find the 26th row, how many bricks there are, as long as I know the first term, and I know that I'm looking for the 26th row, and they're going down by 2, So 25 times -2, which is -50, add, you get 10. There are 10 bricks in the 26th row. That's what I need there. There's 10 bricks in row 26. Some of you guys had a larger number of bricks in row 26 than you had in row 1. Well, if you need to use a little bit of common sense. If you're decreasing in number of bricks, how can row 26 have more bricks? You should have less than 20, less than 60. So you should get 910 for this answer. There's 910 bricks total. Did anyone not get this? Number 18. Number 18. What is a recursive formula? Now we're in the geometric problems. The geometric recursive looks like this. You state the first term, which is 9, and then any term, it's the previous term times the R value. I don't know what the R value is yet. I have to look at this and figure it out. It ends up being what? -2/3. So if you take the previous term times -2/3, you'll get the next term in line. Now, some of you guys did this. AN -1, and then you did -2/3. If you don't put this in parentheses like that, it looks like you're subtracting. So be careful.
How'd you get the -2/3 again?
You have to figure out what the ratio is. -6 divided by 9. -6 divided by 9. Or you could do 4 over -6. Now, what's the explicit formula? It looks like this. AN, it's the first term, 9, times the R value. Notice how I'm putting it in parentheses, times raised to the n-1 power. So this right here is the answer for A, and this is B. And I gave 3 points for both of those. Questions? Okay, number 19. I want to write this formula. You guys struggled with these next two. AN equals, we're talking geometric formulas here. Whatever these two subscripts are, if you subtract them, that's your N, your R power. So see this problem right here? They're talking about the fourth term, A sub 4 and A sub 1. What's the power then going to be here? A 3. What is the A4 number? It's -1/2. And what's the A1 value? It's 4. How do we solve for R? What do?
Divide by 4.
Divide by 4, or multiply by a 4. So you get R cubed is equal to -1/8. Now take the cube root of both sides. What's the cube root of R cubed? R. What's the cube root of -1/8? That's the cube root of it.
I wrote,
Go ahead.
for number 19, I also, wait, is this 18 or 19?
This is 19.
Yeah, for number 19, I wrote x is equal to -1/2. But I got it wrong.
You have 4 times -1/2 to the n-1. You have that?
No,
You don't have that?
just the r part of it. Never mind.
Okay, now 20 I ended up throwing out. I made it a bonus. But, and the only reason why I made it a bonus because the numbers were really crazy large. And you were running out of time, you probably thought, I'm doing this wrong, and you gave up. A lot of you guys didn't even do this problem. So a couple of you guys got it right. I'm gonna go over it. I am putting this question on the test, but I'm not gonna make it as hard. It's not gonna be crazy numbers the way this one is. So let me go through this one. so you all understand how to do it. And you may wanna do it on a separate sheet if you have anything written there. So, I wanna go into the formula again. That's our recipe right there. So now we're going to stick these in here. So I'm gonna use U11 for this outside number. And I'm gonna use U7 for the first term that I know. And now what's my power gonna be with an 11 and a 7 here? A 4. Everyone got that part? So if it's geometric, put the 2 that you have and use the larger one on the left side, okay? Now, replace values. So 25/8 goes in here. And 800 goes here. I'm trying to find R like I did on this problem. How do I get R by itself? And this is where it just got ugly. You're gonna divide by 800, so you're gonna get 25 over 8 times 800 is 25 over 6,400. Now, if you reduce this is where you may have had trouble seeing it, this reduces to 1 over 256. So if you take the 4th root of both sides here, you get 1/4. And that's probably where you had trouble getting that. So now, we need the first term. So we go back to this formula. Now I'm gonna use A sub 7. That's the smaller one. And then A sub 1 times R to the what power? 6. Because 7 minus 1 is 6. Well, I know the 7, U sub 7 is 800. I don't know what this A1 is, that's what I need for the formula, but I do know R is 1/4. I'm gonna raise that to the 6th power. You get 1 over 4,096. I will not make this one as crazy as this. That's why I made this a bonus. And now multiply both sides by 4,096, and this is where it's gonna be crazy. It's 3,276,800. Believe it or not, this was one of the pool of questions in your pre-calc book. So this is not an unreal problem for you guys to handle at this point in your math career, but I'm not gonna give you as crazy of numbers. It might be like R to the 3rd power or something like that, not to the 6th. So what is the answer to this problem? It's crazy. It goes like this. AN is, you need that first term, which is 3,276,800 times the R value is 1/4. 1/4, and then to the n minus 1, yep. So now, what do we need is if you're trying to find like the 5th term, 6th term, whatever, you put that number in there and that'll help you find any term. Almost done, 3 more. Number 21, now this is a geometric sequence, because it has a power, the variable's a power, so I know it's geometric. I want you to add 6 terms together. So what is this? This is a partial sum. The formula looks like this. A1 times 1 minus R to the n power over 1 minus R. Well, I need the first term that I'm adding up. So if I take this bottom number and put a 1 right there, I can do this in my head. What's 1 minus 1? What's any number to the 0 power? 1. So A1 is 1. Now, I don't know what R is yet, so I'm going to put a 2 in here. What's 2 minus 1? 1. What's 3/2 to the 1st power? It's 3/2. So to find the ratio, I take the 2nd term divided by the 1st term, so I get R is 3/2. So now I'm ready to go, I got everything. A1 is 1, and then 1 minus 3 halves, and I'm adding 6 terms together over 1 minus 3 halves. So how do we type this in our calculator? On the TV is your calculator. So you're gonna do 1 minus, and then I put in parentheses 3 divided by 2, raise that to the 6th power. I do not have to multiply that by 1 because it's itself. And then I'm gonna divide this by 1 minus, and you could have done that in your head. And there's your answer, 20.78. Now I go back and I read the question, and it says fraction versus decimal. So I want you to hit from here, you're gonna hit math, and then hit frac, and hit enter, and you get 665 over 12. Or, I'm sorry, over 32. Over 32. Number 22. Does this series, this is a series because it has pluses and minus signs in between. Does it converge? Converge is when the absolute value of the r is less than 1. If it converges, you can find the sum. If it diverges, diverging is when r is greater than 1. So I need the r value to decide if it's converging or diverging. You take the second term, which is -1, and you divide it by 3. And then you can keep doing that pattern. You get r is -1/3, so that is going to converge. And how do you find the sum? It's a1 over 1 minus r. So what do you get when you do a1, which is 3? 3 over 1 minus -1/3. You should get for an answer, anyone, 9/4. In the last one, you have a ball, it's dropping 8 feet. So you have to add 8 to the final answer. You are going to go 2/3 of that height. It's gonna go up and down 2/3. So what is 8 times 2/3? 16/3. It's gonna go 16/3 up and 16/3 down. So what, if you add these two up, you get 32 over 3. That's your first term. So here's your formula, a1 times 1 minus r to the n power over 1 minus r. The first term is 32/3. The ratio is 2/3, 1 minus 2/3. Now this is the trick. It says on the fourth bounce, you're only adding 3 terms. 1 minus 2/3. Now when you get your answer here, which is 22.52, don't forget to add the 8. So the answer to this one is 30.52 feet.
Oh, jeez.